of Pennsylvania tourism. There's the good and there's the bad. So we'll start with the good. We'll jump right into it. Pennsylvania is the second most visited state in our country. And ironically, we're also, tourism is also Pennsylvania's second largest industry. People come here for getaway stays, which is 4 days or less. And the reason they come to Pennsylvania is either outdoor recreation or history as their driving factors. The good news for us here in Lebanon County is we have both of those. They come here because it's safe, convenient by cars, it's affordable. Other answers were there's new and different things to see and do. The ugly part of that is that we are 41st in the nation for budgetary support, which is really unfortunate for the industry, especially being that we are the second biggest industry in the state. In 2010, you can see there at the bottom, there was $30 million spent towards tourism, and for this coming year, it's down to $4.3 million, which is a pretty substantial drop. And as you see at the bottom there, every $1 spent on marketing, the return on investment is $25. And soon there will be a comprehensive marketing study done that we hope will point to the fact that the less money we spend on tourism, the less dollars of tourism are coming in. So it goes hand in hand, and the driving factor of that study would be to then increase tourism spending again in our state. So if we take a little bit closer approach, many of you may know that we fall into the Dutch Country Roads region, which is Adams, Berks, Cumberland, Dauphin, Franklin, Lancaster, Lebanon, Perry, and York. And of that, again, we are the second highest spending region of there's 11 tourism regions in the state. Now, I should preface this by saying that we no longer are defined by these regions. This was an initiative that Governor Rendell rolled out maybe 10 years ago. So while there is no longer an active Dutch Country Roads initiative, we still sort of define ourselves by those tourism groups and study those numbers. And you can see there that $7.6 billion was spent just in the Dutch Country Roads region. And that's what that looks like. So pretty much the southeastern part of the state, and it does cover Harrisburg, Lancaster, some pretty big areas. The benefit of that is that, as our tagline goes, we are truly in the heart of it all. And for folks staying here in Lebanon County, they can be almost to any of these places within an hour to an hour and a half. Now, how all of this correlates to us here in Lebanon County, I'll let you take a look at those numbers. But the total number is that we have $192 million spent on tourism here in the county and 1,600 jobs, which is really, neither is a small number. Now, if you compare that to the Dutch Country Roads region, I think there were 7 counties. Out of $7.6 billion, let me just reiterate that our piece of that is $192 million. So I do think that we have some room to grow in gaining a larger portion of that spending. And as I said earlier, we are in the heart of it all. So given the fact that we are so close to all of these other assets in the Dutch Country region, our proximity, and that we do have the things people are looking for, such as the outdoor recreation, the arts, and the history, there's really no reason that we can't gain a greater piece of the tourism pie here in Dutch Country Roads region, as well as the state. Now, I'm a believer that to go forward positively, we need to take a good hard look at what we've done well in the past and what we haven't. And when I started this position, I was given a research study that was done independently in 2014, which maybe you have seen and maybe you haven't. But here are some of the things that we're looking at where we need to improve in our own community. Just attitudes and perceptions of tourism in Lebanon County. 40% of our residents and visitors have not seen our community guide. 85% have not used our website. 52% do not know that the tourism promotion agency, which is Visit Lebanon Valley, is charged with marketing the county and its assets. And 53% of folks here in Lebanon County say that we are not a destination. So those are just sort of the attitudes and perceptions that we need to deal with. We can't bury our head in the sand, and we need to decide how can we overcome those challenges. Because if we don't make our own community ambassadors for our region, nobody will want to come here. So how are we doing that? How is the new destination marketing, which we're branding as Visit Lebanon Valley, how are we doing that? Well, our first step was, after we formed, was to roll out the new community guidebook, which had previously been called the Visitor's Guide. We decided to rebrand it and make it offer more for our own residents. So we have some ways to go, but for example, we wanted to include more parks, all kinds of things, real estate agents, services that our website will include, churches, services that residents would use, not just visitors. And we especially wanted to consider transplants who are coming here from other areas. As you know, we have a group coming from Texas soon, and I think they're bringing about 20 families with them. And wouldn't this be great if we can mail it out to them in Texas and they can take a look at what we have to offer here before they even step foot, and it would help them get a little bit more excited about coming to a new place. A second way that we are reaching out to overcome some of these perceptions in the community is that we're trying to have a lot of face-to-face interactions. We decided to rent office space at 31 South 8th Street in Lebanon. It's attached to the historic farmers market, which, as you know, is a big asset here, and gets a ton of traffic, both from visitors as well as our own residents. We ended up having a woman who donated, well, she didn't donate, she's lending us a lot of historical pieces, and we put in a mini museum. And the great thing about that is we can tell the story of where Lebanon has been and where we're going, and of course what we're doing today with the current brochures and flyers that we're putting out. And I think it ended up being a real blessing that she was willing to donate these items to us, because we have so many people coming in, looking at the photos, reminiscing, and telling me stories that I would have never heard before. And we have this little table there that, then the older crowd likes to sit down and chit chat with me. And while it's not necessarily the most productive time of my day when the market's open and people are sitting with me, it's time of the day that is completely invaluable, and we're learning lessons that we wouldn't otherwise have. The third thing that we're doing to work within our community is we just unrolled this new website. It is up, but as you'll see is my little screenshot there at the top. It's under construction still. So we're trying to give ourselves some leeway. It's not perfect. We do have quite a bit of content to add, but we recognized in building this website that it is summer. We do have people here visiting, and they're looking for information. So we wanted to get as much out as we can. And one of the greatest things that we'll be offering to our own community is a comprehensive calendar of events. And we're hoping that everybody, when they think, what is there to do in the Lebanon Valley today, that they'll think to come to visit Lebanon Valley and find out what's happening. And likewise, everybody can use our calendar, whether it's a church bake sale, garage sale, or something like the Cornwall Iron Furnaces fundraiser Friday night. We want people to use our calendar to help them. We want to be their megaphone to the community. And I shouldn't say lastly, but the last thing I want to touch on today is that we're working hard to form positive, strong professional alliances. We're working closely with the CLA, which is one of the reasons I wanted to become involved with downtown Lebanon with our office. The Chamber, of course, we have a great relationship with the Expo. As Pat Kerwin is booking more and more groups over there, I'm able to come in on the back end and make sure that they're in touch with what they need. These groups know where a great place to go out to eat is, what hotel we recommend, and we're even working to set up tours for the spouses of those attendees who maybe aren't so interested in what the convention is that day. I think we have some engine guys coming this winter, and the gentleman running the group said, please can we develop a tour for the spouses, because the last thing our wives want to do is sit around and listen to the rumble of our small engines all day. So we were able to come up with a really fun tour, and it was actually hard to come up with 2 days of activities and not overfill it, because we really do have so much to offer here. And of course the EDC, we're working closely with them as developers call and want to discuss tourism if there's need for hotels and development. Susan and I can go out together, and I'm just there to talk, and she's got all the hard numbers. So, all of that leads me to a chicken named Charlotte. And now you probably wonder, what does this chicken have to do with tourism in Lebanon County? Well, you heard that there's the perception that Lebanon doesn't have anything to offer, it's not a destination. Well, sitting with my girlfriend one evening, our children were having a play date. I still live in Lehigh County, or as of last week I did. And I was telling her about the challenges the Lebanon area fair is faced with because they couldn't have a poultry show. No fair in the state can have a poultry show, which to you and me doesn't really seem like a big idea or a big deal. For me, it's not really on my agenda. But for people who raise chickens, and it's a big hobby now. I don't know if anybody in here has chickens, but backyard chickens is kind of becoming a big deal. Well, my friend's little girl Macy, she has chickens, and all year she was so excited to take her chicken to the fair. Now she's 7, and Charlotte is her pride and joy, and she takes great care of Charlotte. And she was devastated to learn that Charlotte unfortunately cannot enter any fairs this year because of the avian flu. As it turns out, our fair had the innovative idea to use the chicken cages and hang a photo in there, and people can drop quarters in, which would also raise funds for Conquer Cancer with a Quarter. It's a little early for all of that. At any rate, they decided to enter their chicken in the Lebanon area fair. Now, not such a big deal, but when you consider that they came from Lehigh County, they spent $45 at the fair, $78 in gas, $67 on dinner, and they raised $632 towards Conquer Cancer with a Quarter. That meant that just one little chicken being entered in the fair brought $822 to our region. Now, if you multiply that out, what you and I might not think of in the front of our minds as a tourist attraction, surely raised some money here in Lebanon County, brought some dollars in. So it is in fact a destination here. We just are maybe not what you would consider to be a destination. We're not Miami, we're not Manhattan, but we do have things to offer here. It's just a little different than the traditional offerings. And I should mention that Charlotte, the chicken, ended up raising the most amount of money of all the other poultry, and they're coming back on Friday to make their donation to the radio station, and they'll be bringing even more dollars with them when they come. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention House Bill 794 in the big picture of the Lebanon County tourism. In our county, we have a 3% hotel tax. We have 906 rooms, and in the last year we brought in $255,000 of that 3% hotel tax. My agency receives 55% of the hotel tax. The Lebanon County Expo Center is 35%. And I believe the commissioners receive 10%. What House Bill 794 would do is allow us to charge a 5% hotel tax, which really doesn't affect business owners here. It simply affects those who are staying in the hotels. Now, I don't know about you, but when I call a hotel, I don't ask what the hotel tax rate is. It's just simply something that you know is going to be included in your bill and make it a little bit higher than you initially budgeted for. So at the Visit Lebanon Valley, we're very much on board with this House bill. It would allow us to charge a little or receive a little bit more funding. And if you would consider that last year, if we collected $8,500,000, giving us our hotel tax then was $255,000. If that rate went up to 5%, that means we would collect $425,000, which is a pretty substantial increase, and it would really benefit us as we market our agency and our area. And of course, the Lebanon County Expo would definitely benefit from that increase of numbers. So this applies to 3rd through 8th class counties. And I should mention that we are surrounded by class counties who charge quite a substantial bit higher hotel tax. I think Harrisburg and Hershey is 7%, and Lancaster is in that ballpark as well. So really, we're already at the lower end of the spectrum. This is something that we hope the Senate will pass in the very near future. And at this point, I really feel that the sky's the limit. We've been accepted into the community with open arms. There's been a little controversy here and there, but by and large, everybody is so excited to see what we're doing and to hear us speaking positively about all we have to offer in the county. And I know we're off to a great start, and I'm eager to hear feedback from all of you, what we could be doing better, what we could turn our attention towards. And I really think anywhere we go is only in the positive direction and upward. So, thank you.
I guess we're ready for questions. It looks like Bernie's going first.
Laura, those of us who lived here, I think we know and appreciate what Lebanon County has to offer. Nice to be reminded about it once in a while. I guess the question is, how do we get this information disseminated outside this region here? Because obviously, if you're going to look away 3-4 days, you're not thinking of going anywhere to Lebanon County, or even perhaps in the region. So the regions beyond us or the other states, how do you really get this information out to them? I know you have a website and so forth, but how does somebody in Ohio, New Jersey, or even Western Pennsylvania really get a feel for Lebanon County? I know Lancaster has a certain element of attraction and places like that. But
all right, well, there's a few different ways. Well, since you mentioned Lancaster, one of the ways we're going to plan to do this is that we'll partner with other local CVBs, so the community, it's too early for me to think of these acronyms, my goodness, destination marketing organizations. So we're going to partner with them and hopefully develop tours. So they'll spend some time in Lancaster, people will spend some time in Lebanon, and then move on to Berks and Hershey. That'll be a big part of it. Of course, the internet's a big part of it. We're signing on with a new, it's a web platform that allows us really to get information out and get it out quickly. It hits all of the local and national news outlets, and within search engine optimization terms, it's really going to allow us to spread our information far and wide, which, as you know, the internet is pretty inexpensive, and it's a great way to get the word out there. And then the third component, I would say, is that if we can just turn our own community into ambassadors. If you think that if just I go to Union Canal and I put a picture up and I have 200 friends on Visit Lebanon Valley and I have 200 friends on my own page, well, that's an astronomical number of people who have heard what a great event Union Canal Days was. And as people talk, you know how far away people's family and friends are these days. I think it just sparks that little bit of interest. Hey, next time I go to visit them, I should stay an extra day or an extra 2 days. We're not necessarily talking about getting people for a whole week. We're just getting people here for a few hours or a day or two is really, I think, the key place to start.
do you have some kind of a partnership with the chamber? How does that work?
Not officially yet, I wouldn't say, but.
We have a seat on the board, I attend most, just a couple. But, as we're working together and growing, it's growing. We have the, now I'm going to blank on words, the county business development team that includes the mayor, DMO, us, the commissioners, Susan at the EDC, County Planning, Expo Center, and the CLA, and we meet every other month, and we're trying to work together more, and collaborate more. So it's growing.
The other thing that I think we've done in the committee and with Laura is the existing groups or groups that were potentially slated to come to the county. We've done a much better job of taking care of them and putting gift baskets and packets together for them. For example, there was a bike club that was doing a bike tour in Lebanon County, and we took real good care of them, and they're coming back. So, and then they talk, and that builds and the numbers grow. So it's a combination of all of these things, and these are things that were never done before. So I think it's huge. I think you're definitely, I feel a difference.
Can you add a little more about the PSAC conference and how many and where the visitor guides were distributed?
Okay, and that's one portion I did leave out. So this year we printed up 50,000 of the community guidebooks. I think in the past it had been about 40, maybe 30,000 over the winter months and then 40,000 in the summer months. We printed 50,000 thinking that our board, we're really going to work and get this out. We pay a company called Getaways on Display to disperse these books throughout the state. It's the guidebook is in all of the state-sponsored travel stops along the turnpikes. And also we chose to be in the Philadelphia region, that northeast, the corridor there, throughout Lancaster County. So it's these books, I think it was 35,000 of them that we distributed throughout the state using this agency. Our own board put out just under 14,000 just within our own efforts, which I'm really proud of. That's a lot of books to get out. And then we've mailed some out, and then we've also been sending them to groups. So we mentioned the Expo Center. We had the Gourd, there was just the Gourd Fest. They have people from all over the East Coast come. We send our books with them, and then they send it out to their attendees. And then there's another group called Cabin Fever, and they're the small engine guys. Their show is huge. It rents out the whole Expo Center, and he took a lot of books, and he's giving it to his folks. And they're in the Mid-Atlantic region. So they're slowly but surely trickling out.
Do you have any plans to reach out to travel agents outside this area?
Yes, we hope to put together plus tours, both for history, military, and Commissioner Ames and I were speaking. We think we can really hook in with Lancaster. They're even bringing people here from Europe who are interested in learning about the Pennsylvania Dutch heritage, which, as you know, we have tons of, and so does Kutztown. So we'll probably be partnering with the Berks County agencies called Go Greater Reading. So we'll be working with them as well.
Every well-run business has a way of measuring their success. How do you plan to measure your organization's success?
Well, there's a number of different ways we can do that. Of course, there's the bottom line that we can start tracking. I think I have 2 years worth of information. We can start tracking if we've had an increase in stays here in the county. We, of course, have one of the most important tools, which will be the web analytics. And one of the reasons I say that's the most important is because I can go on the back end of my website and I can see specifically what people are clicking on and what they're interested in, and then I can generate more content to that. And I think with those 2 things, and just the community buzz, I believe, that in a small town especially, it really gets back to us, and we'll be able to hear, like Mayor Capello said, she already feels that there's a positive change. And I think while that's not a hard and fast number to go by, in a community such as this, it's really an important indicator of where we are in the health of our tourism agency.
Now, the hotel tax, as you mentioned, is divided between your organization, the Expo, and the county through the commissioners. How do you prevent any duplication of efforts? Do you coordinate things that you do? Or do you...
Pat and I at the Expo, we work very closely together. We kind of have divided up what's his and what's mine, and I don't step on his toes. When he needs something, he'll call me and ask, and when I need something, I'll call him and ask, and we just have that relationship. And as far as the county is concerned, we can utilize some of their assets, which I'm not necessarily clear on what they all are at this point, and could communicate better. And their maps and things like that. We can definitely utilize that. We don't need to go out and create our own maps. we can utilize what's already been done. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel.
Now, as the county commissioners here will probably remember, there were some issues of transparency at previous discussions. How do you plan to have transparency on what you do so that that discussion will not come up again?
Well, we have, I don't know what systems were in place before, so I can't speak to the past, but going forward, of course, the board is very involved, and I'm always talking to my executive committee specifically about what we're doing, what we're spending, what we're not doing, what we're not spending. And of course, we have the books to be audited. You know, I think they're audited on an annual basis. And I have an accountant who's you know, sort of managing some of those pieces, so it keeps my hands off a little bit more.
Are you going to disseminate this information to the county commissioners?
I imagine so, yes. There's no plan in place just yet.
The dollars that you had mentioned earlier that are being spent in Pennsylvania, that's just state funds, that's not the local contributions, is that correct?
I'm sorry, which,
You had mentioned, was it 30 million down to,
oh, okay, those were state funds.
that's it, okay.
Although, under Governor Rendell, each of the regions got a piece, so to speak. So Dutch Country Road got, I don't know how many dollars they were allotted to help market them. And then it was on them to work together as a cohesive group to market their region. That's no longer in place at all. That's, you know, the problem with getting a new governor elected is that the marketing for the state changes every 4 years or every 8 years. And unfortunately, that doesn't really help our branding. If anybody in here is in sales and marketing, you know how important branding is. If every 4 or 8 years the branding changes, well, what's the consumer going to think? There's nothing really sticking in their mind about Pennsylvania. And we hope that that'll change under this new leadership. In September, I think the new marketing initiatives for the state will be rolled out. So we'll have a better picture at that point of what's happening.
Forgive me, I should know this, but what's your structure? Are you a standalone nonprofit? Are you a county agency? Run me through
We are
that, and who
standalone.
your, and how you, what your governance is.
Okay, we're a 501c3. We have a board of 15, I think it is, and we have maybe 6 ex officios who sit on us, which would include Mayor Capello, Greg, Susan. So we have a lot of hands-on board members overseeing this.
Is your intention to move to Lebanon Valley?
Spent here, yeah, my last night here. I paid rent this month, so unfortunately, my husband's staying in Lehigh County until he can make it with his job here, but my children are enrolled in school for the fall.
How do these cooperative efforts work with, like you mentioned Lancaster and Hershey, for example? Do you just basically ask those other 2 entities in addition to yourself to promote what's really attractive about Lebanon County? Or do you get into more of the nitty-gritty and say, cooperatively, we can put together a package of site visits and market that package of sites, sort of like a AAA, triptych or whatever it used to be called.
Right.
And sort of promote, if you're gonna come to this region, you wanna go to Hershey Park, you wanna see the Amish, you wanna see downtown Lancaster, you wanna see the Union Canal, you wanna see Sweater Creek State Park, and sort of package that as a brochure. Do you do anything like that, detailed?
That's the plan. At this point, because we're only 5 months in, and it's been a lot of reactive actions instead of proactive. We're right now just promoting each other, and we've made the introductions, and we say, hey, we should put together something. We haven't actually done it yet. I'm hoping in the next couple of months, now that we have an office and we have our first guidebook and our website's up, we can be a lot more proactive in drawing those folks. Hershey Harrisburg works a lot with a gentleman by the name of Warren Parks. He's with the Historical Society, and he does a lot with the Gap. And they're always bringing bus tours here to Lebanon County. So that's a really great place for us to start, and that's something our board's working on right now, doing FAM tours, which is familiarization tours.